then just 18 years old, she has sped to the top of her profession, becoming the youngest principal ballerina anyone at Covent Garden can remember.
Alina Cojocaru is one of the great prima ballerinas of the modern age.
I doubt there's a ballet lover anywhere in this world who has not been absolutely mesmerized by her dancing.
At the age of 9, Alina Cojocaru was born, it seems, to dance. At 20, she's one of the youngest prima ballerinas in the Royal Ballet's history.
I love this thing about asking the right questions. The moment someone says, "Oh, you're amazing, oh, you've made it," I say, "I've made it where?" People are curious about new star. How much do they last? It seems in our world today it's not so hard to become a star. The challenge is how do you stay there? Because once you've reached your top, what does it take to grow? You can't do the same things and expect to grow. So my teacher came and said, "Alina, you moved me today." That's my top priority. I was upset because I messed up one step, and my teacher thought I moved her. But if I managed to move my teacher with a ballet that she had seen every single performance with all my colleagues, she knows the ballet, and I managed to bring something to it, wow, that's a huge achievement. Listen, we are compared always, and in whatever feedback I get, it's molded towards my goal. And so when someone comes and say, "I didn't connect with you today on a show," instead of being hurt by it, I say, well, but for me that's important. And if you tell me I didn't succeed, it's important for me to know how I can improve. By being in the moment and being in tune with your emotions and in tune with your technique, this is how you can make a ballet that you've seen so many times, make people say, "Oh, I feel like I watched it for the first time." I was one of rehearsals where I would do it without a question, 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row. And my teacher, so excited, said, "I can't wait to see you do that step today because I know I can do it." And I remember thinking, "Oh, I'm so sure. Do you think I did it?"
Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's really an honor to have you sat in front of me. I've watched you from when I was a young dancer as well, throughout your whole career. And, you know, you've had this amazing career that's so inspiring. And I'd love to talk through almost all of it. Let's start at the very beginning, because you started with gymnastics when you were 7 years old, 7 or 8. Were your parents, was that their decision to put you in gymnastics, or did you actually have an interest in it?
I think most children at that time would do gymnastics. It was still under Ceausescu, under communist regime, and we had very strong gymnastics at the time. Both the ones with sports, the one with
Oh, the ribbons.
the ribbons.
Yeah, the rhythmic.
So I actually did both rhythmic. Yes, so I actually did both gymnastics. The truth is, I was very small. So my parents were told the gymnastics will help me grow more and develop, but I liked it, and my teachers recognized and kept telling my mom she should continue. And I did until I had a small injury on my knee and I stopped. Then a friend of our family said very much that I was jumping on sofas and have so much energy in the house, and he said, "Listen, I'll take her to ballet. It's easier. She should be fine." I don't think it was easier, but at least it was another way of dancing, of moving. That I liked, and I continued. Then we had it was an exchange of students at that time. I think between Romania, Moldova, and Kiev, and Ukraine. Between these 3 countries was exchange of students. And this was the first and only year when they would do the exchange not between Moldova and Ukraine, but actually between Romania and Ukraine. And the director of the school came to choose a group of dancers. We were students. We were eight students that got the scholarship and went to study in Kiev. And only 2 finished, me and another young boy.
And up until this point, you hadn't actually seen a ballet
No.
yet.
No.
Which I find really fascinating, because a lot of dancers start ballet because
Interesting.
they've seen a ballet dancer with the tutu and think, oh my gosh. And you think about the end goal, like, I want to be that ballerina one day. So what was it that made you fall in love with ballet initially, or want to do it?
I think I liked what I remember, like kind of on the side of my mind, is being told good, being told that I do something good.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps it's in school at the time, teachers were very strict in school, and my mom would tell me that she was always having great feedback from teachers, that I was very attentive and listening, but the teacher would never tell me, so I always felt didn't know. But when I did gymnastics, for example, or ballet, I had always feedback, oh, you good, that's good, and that made me want to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from the very beginning I realized the kind of feedback I get, it either inspires me forward, or it makes me lose interest.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that somehow it seemed along the way, I mean, I remember so vividly, I was sick, I was having a cold, I was always a sickly child, actually. And I remember the teacher of gymnastics, we had a competition, and I remember the teachers knocking at my mom, at my flat, at my house door, and telling my mom, she's really talented. She cannot miss this competition. I'll take care of her. I'm gonna keep a jump over her all the time. I'm gonna hold her hands. Can she please come?
Mm-hmm.
And I was and my mom said, "Do you want to?" And
Yeah.
my mom was saying yes. And I still have pictures now at home with my teacher with her coat over my shoulders,
Yeah.
the leotard, naked legs, like preparing to go, and she just took care of me.
Yeah.
So I think these kind of images that are stuck with me had continuously helped me push forward into this.
Yes.
And then
So you fell in love with the process of the work.
yes, and the discovery of it, because when so I was actually on holiday when I did audition to go into Romanian ballet school, and then I left for my holiday, summer holiday, with my sister to my grandparents in the countryside. And I remember, that sounds really silly, but being in the field with the cows, and I remember hearing that my dad was gonna come and pick us back up, and we've been there for 2 days. And that was because it was announced the audition was gonna repeat, and whether we want to go to another country to study in a very famous school. As you can imagine, this brought strong conflicts in my parents, because I was 9 years old.
So young.
And this is another country. And at that time, I didn't even have a passport.
Yeah.
Nobody really had a passport at that time. It was, I think, the first year after the revolution. And this was very unusual. I think this is why also the exchange, thinking about it now, probably this why we even had that exchange of students, because we can have more connections to other countries and scholarships. And I just remember my dad drove all night home. It was like 3-4 hours. And then the next day I went for the auditions. I remember being tired and sleepy and hungry, but I went through the process. And the memory I have in my mind from it is not even when we were told to do the exercises, the stretching and the dancing, but it was when the director did rhythmic with me, like, and then he did 1, he did 2, he did 3. And okay, try this one and try this one, and I got it right, and I could see the smile on his face, and I've never done this before. I've never training or had this kind of music training, and to me it was a game, and I loved it. So it kind of made me, oh gosh, this is fun, and this is fun, and jumping, and I can see there. You sense when someone likes what you do.
Yeah.
And that's how I end up then on a 30-hour journey on a train from Romania to Kiev to study.
Amazing.
Without parents, I think, without family. I have an older sister, so I've never been alone. I've never been to kind of say on my own. And to my luck, I can say I had an amazing first teacher. I spoke a lot of her in lots of other interviews. Her name is Larissa Nikolaevna, and unfortunately she passed away this year. And I was lucky enough to meet her just before pandemic. Again, I had a visit to Kiev.
You've mentioned how the schooling in Ukraine was very, very special for you in terms of it fully formed you and ready for taking on these roles quite early. Tell me about that, the training in Ukraine, and because it's Vaganova method, and you've mentioned how you enjoy the Vaganova method for its beautiful upper body and how that training at your school really shaped you.
Yes, I think what is really strong about is the base. And I find that most important, because today I think there are so many different styles that we think of training in different styles. But in my opinion, and that's my opinion, of course, in reality, if you have a strong classical base, you should be able to adapt to all styles. You should be able to adapt whether the arm is round or stretched, Ashton or Balanchine or Macmillan, or whatever requirements we have within the choreography. We should have the strength and the technique to do so. And I strongly feel that comes from our everyday class, from our training. If we try to already, if you are within a company that has that in a school that has that style already, that's one thing. But if it is a overall school, I would just focus so much more on just cleanness of delivering a step. And I think why this is also interesting, for the first time I've caught myself a few years ago on a panel of audition for a company. And I remember thinking, gosh, what do I even look for? And talking to, actually, Johan was the person who said, actually, if they have a strong technique, they can do anything. It doesn't have to be and then I realized what he meant, because when I look, I can see, oh, they do this so beautiful. It's likable. It's clean. They can do anything with that. If you change one thing, shouldn't change their base, because the base is so strong. The core and the base of how they dance is so strong. And then they can explore different branches. I like to think like a tree. You have the base of a tree, and then you can explore different branches and different way of moving.
Yes.
Then you end up doing modern. Then you end up doing... Because I think what's interesting right now is, in my time, when I first entered a company, I say in my time because that would have been many, many years ago, it was a lot more classical based. Therefore, class would feed into our rep and then so on. Now is much more different. Now within a company, you have to be able to do many more things, a lot more contemporary, a lot more neoclassical, a lot more Balanchine, Macmillan, Ashton, John Neumeier. I mean, the range, the requirements on a body, it's a lot bigger, versatile, different preparations. So this is why I still think that strong technique and base and alignment.
Yes.
Which again, some people might disagree with me. Let's say I could not possibly do classical, but my ballet class, and then go do acrobatics Giselle.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I had to find different way of warming up. I would still do my class to keep, but the training and it was completely different. Preparation before a show was different.
Yes.
So I think a strong base allows someone to be brave, to try different way of training.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when I went to Vaganova, I think that was the first time, because I had been at the Royal Ballet School, I think that was the first time that I really committed fully to, one way of working for several years, and that's when I improved the most, just because when you're in that institution, there's only one way of doing it, but it becomes very much your base, your foundation. And I do agree with you, like when you are so strong in your foundations, it's much easier to then try other things, because you always have that base to come back to.
Yes, it supports you.
Yeah.
You.
And I think, there's kind of a general question going around right now in the dance world, which is, does one train when they're quite young in many different styles? Because some people say, they need to be versatile. But would you agree in thinking when they're very young and they're actually training, they should stick to one system, so that then, does that then form them for then going out there and trying different styles? Because, when I think about Paris Opera, they train in the French method, and then obviously they dance in a way that's in the French style, but does that give them freedom then if they were invited to somewhere else to perform? Would they then try to dance as that company, or would you always dance in your style?
I think, like you said, if you are in a Paris Opera school, you end up having that training because that is in there. It'll become your nature. But again, if it's a strong base, classically based, if you have then an Ashton representative teaching you La Fille Margarde, you wouldn't struggle to just change a position of the arm, because actually they're very good of all the épaulements and everything that really is required. So from that point of view, you had to question. I think classical training is the hardest to master and the first to go. Some people say it's because it's unnatural to the body, but I find once we learn the idea of in a spiral, actually that is something quite natural that we have within our body. That goes one way. So once we learn about this kind of training, I think classically trained is not that hard, but it does go away fast. And though these are two things, if I think it goes away fast, it'll go away fast. If I think it'll stay, it still stays. So this has another part, an aspect that we could talk about. But when you ask me about training in different ways, I feel I've only benefited by trying other trainings. I've only benefited by doing gyrotonic. I might not have stuck with it, but or Pilates or anatomy in motion or strength training, but I always kept something. So then by trying different things, I was like, oh, that helps me. I can see a quick result from this exercise and this, and I keep it. So now I have preparation for a show, a combination of different kind of exercises that help me. So I would strongly recommend, no matter what age, to try things. Because this help us know this is good for my body.
Yes.
Even if it's, like I said, 1 or 2 exercises that you like to keep, and then now and then say, oh, actually, that made me feel quite strong or quite loose. I'll try again because I have this ballet coming up that I need to feel like that. So when you try things, another suggestion, another thing I encourage people to do is write it down. Because I remember so clearly once having to do, gosh, what was it? I think it was Giselle. And I didn't have much time. So I then did the preparation. I wrote down every exercise I did, how much I did, for how long. And then I remember during the show, I felt amazing. So now I said, this ballet is coming up. I take my notebook and I say, how did I prepare it? And I said, oh, I forgot about this exercise and this. Oh, that's really, okay. And then I take it back and I say, okay, this helps me prepare for this ballet. And I have that much time. I have the structure. I do it and I can replicate. And I think then there are certain things that we can rely and go back to. In terms of age, it's hard for me to say, really. But right now I look at my 2 girls and they do hip hop and they do now and then ballet, and you see what they like and you see how they move and you see and I ask what they liked. Do you like this? They like this more. I have a feeling that we have an intelligence within our bodies that by doing things we say, oh, actually that felt really good with me physically and emotionally. I felt like I was flying. That says something.
So staying curious.
Oh my God, that's my word. Curious. Curiosity about things we will probably touch on this as well, saved me in many things in my life. If you see things curiously, you don't see so much the judgment behind it, but you see more about the learning behind it.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm thinking, so obviously you've tried so much over your career and finding out what works best for you, and the spiral thing, I'm a huge fan of spiraling, gyrotonics, floor bar, but I think all of those things I'm thinking, you know, without that foundation that you've always got something to go back to, I feel like potentially you or one wouldn't be able to really get the most out of all those extra things that you're adding on top of that amazing base you've got. You know what I mean? So without that foundation, building the house, it's very hard to make it really stable. But, you know,
Yes. I think it's never too late.
yeah. Well, from my own experience, I was at the Royal Ballet School and early on, and there were a lot of things that were lacking with my dancing. Like my turnout wasn't great and my flexibility wasn't good, but I was offered Vaganova and basically very raw material that needed a lot of work, you know, and felt very intimidated. But with fantastic teachers around me and the support really, and really just, you know, I really resonate with what you said with your teachers, how they just really saw something in you and it kind of made you excited. And that's the kind of what I got from.
I think there are two things.
Mm,
And for me, luckily, the fact that my teacher would have faith
yeah,
and encouragement, and I grew up with respect
yeah.
in a different way than I think the new generation is.
Mm,
Anyone who's older than me, I was meant to assume there's something they've learned more. They're ahead of me in a life experience.
yes.
So somehow every time I would listen to someone, I would listen with the idea that I'm going to learn something, even if it's not always true.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it helped me to be attentive to the information I was receiving. And I found myself in a country where they were speaking Russian at that time, and I didn't understand Russian. So my teacher didn't speak. We had a translator in the studio, but she was so impatient in having everything translated that she was on her knees and correcting our bodies in the right positions and saying it and turn out and this and I saw this little lady. She was like her same hairstyle as you, but like half to
I mean, that's not hard to be.
and she would just correct my body, putting in the right position. I still feel her nails at the back of my shoulder blades, and the energy she was bringing too. And interestingly enough, we were just a Romanian group together because we didn't understand yet to incorporate in a full class with the other colleagues. And she, we had an hour lunch, but I had no idea because she would say, "You have 20 minutes to eat your lunch," and I wait for her in the studio. And because, sorry to go back a bit, because we had to wait for our passports to be made, because like I said, no one had passport at that time, we were late by first 3 months of school. We were late to start. So she was determined to get us
Catching up.
So we never had, for the first years, we were just us. We never had actually a lunch, official long
Oh,
lunch.
wow.
Because 20 minutes she was waiting for us back in the studio.
Yeah.
Nobody paid her extra.
Yeah.
I had no idea. None of us knew, because even if the other colleagues would talk about it, we didn't understand.
Yeah.
Say 20 minutes to have quick count, we would run to be first in line, to run back to be in class,
Mm-hmm.
and we would work. The end of the first year, all classes, we were about many students. We were 4 classes of the same age as us. Everybody was watching our exam.
Yeah.
Because the words were spreading of our progress.
Mm.
And I think when we are such a small group, it's
Yeah.
a lot easier to get people to progress.
Mm-hmm.
And because we were separated by not being able to communicate, this was our only thing to do.
Yeah.
There was no mobile phone, there was no TV.
Yeah.
I lived in a boarding house, so we didn't there was TV like on a Sunday, lights out by 9:30. It was everything focused towards that. And and I think, gosh, how do you end up talking about this? About my teacher, I think, and about the curiosity and
Yeah, and the foundation, you know, for then your continuous curiosity.
yes, and I hated I tell my kids not to say the word hate because it's too strong, but I hated when I was making a mistake. Not when I make the first time, but my teacher, at the end of class, I would sit down and I would write all my corrections because I wanted to make sure the next day I don't do them. It's bizarre. I don't know what
No, I
happens
did it.
to-
I actually did
Did I
exactly
say
the
the
same
same?
because my teacher, although I loved her, and the teachers at the Vaganova, and I'm sure similarly, they become like a mother, you know,
Yes,
like
yes. They do
they're
become
not just
mother
a
figure.
teacher. They don't leave you when you leave the studio, you know. And so, but I'm also slightly terrified of her. So I just, I didn't want to make the same mistake.
Me neither. I would write corrections down, and the next day, if I got new mistakes, I was happy.
Yeah.
But if I make the same mistake again, I say, "Oh, you already told me that yesterday. I'm sorry." I actually apologize for making the same. It's really strange.
Well, I think that's the hallmark of an excellent student, you know, that you
Yes.
had that sort of determination, and you knew that it was your responsibility almost.
Yes. I respected her giving me feedback. So, and she did it with belief and with encouragement. So I felt I would let her down if I make. Of course, that comes with it's a limit to
Yeah.
how we go, but for me that was very important. And I think also what's interesting, and I'm trying to encourage the young students to do, is because I was so focused on improving, if she would give corrections to other people, like if we do class and she says stretch your knee, Maria, I would check on, oh, is my knee stretched? Oh no, I could have stretched a bit more. Or she says turn out, Lisa, I would go, oh, actually I'm turn out. So what that did for me that I didn't realize at that time, self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And why was that crucial? That was crucial because when I entered the company, you don't have that teacher anymore.
No.
You don't have that, Alina this, Alina that, let's try again. You can do this better, let's try this, oh, think of that. That's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly when the feedback does not come to you, and you already have that curiosity and awareness of your own technique and strength and weaknesses, when a teacher gives feedback to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
I continued the same.
Yeah.
Even if the correction was not for me, I would check in. Oh, actually, I do that. That I could have done better. Or then I go, okay, I have no feedback. What can I do better? And when you have that, how can I fix this? How can I... That's crucial, really, when you enter the company, especially for the first year,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have any more guidance. You're a lot more on your own until you have someone that believes in you again, that likes you, that pushes you, or you have a role that you get to do early on, or but your self-awareness and your curiosity about self-development, self-growth, it's crucial. I really find that crucial, because if your focus is on that person got the role, that person did that dancer did that, and I am here. You put I'm here.
The limit
You
on
put the
yourself.
limit.
Yeah.
If you look out and you say, I don't, why do they? That's I love this thing about asking the right questions.
Yes.
Instead of keep on focusing or comparing, or listen, we are compared always. And the sad part is that this is not who's the fastest, so you can see who's the fastest.
Yeah. It's not as simple.
It's not as simple as that. And it's not even as simple as I don't get this role, that means I'm not good at it. It can mean you're in the wrong company. It can mean you need to grow a bit more. It can mean many, you have to believe in yourself more. Is this because I'm too weak, or is this because I'm lacking confidence? Is this because of this, or is it because of that? And unless we get to know ourselves at our... How can I say? Listen, it's easy to look out there. It's hard to look in there.
Yeah.
It's much harder to focus inwards, because there's this story that was recently online about things that have been said. I don't want to go probably into many details, but what I would like to get to is, unless the seed of doubt is in there,
Mm-hmm.
if the seed of doubt is not there, you cannot hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
But if my doubt is in there and you say something, it will hurt me,
Yes.
because the doubt is already there.
Mm.
But I put it there. I've allowed that to go there. So I might get angry with you for saying something upsetting or hurtful.
Mm.
That's not your fault. I've allowed you to go there. So if I take the state of doubt out of the equation, when you say something to me,
Mm.
I would be able to take your information, look at it, and say, I disagree.
Yeah.
Or say, yeah, I agree. I didn't do that so well.
Yeah.
And I know it.
Mm.
And I know I can also fix it.
So all about perspective as well.
But this perspective, because sometimes, and I tell you what taught me a lot, motherhood taught me a lot, being a mom, because you get triggered by things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, gosh, why am I triggered by this? I shouldn't be, but I am.
Mm.
So what is it in there that makes me feel so? And I realized I actually never knew I don't like loud noise. And you have two girls in the house, either fighting or dancing or jumping and singing, and you go, and I get triggered by it. And I was okay, I don't in the morning, but I do in the evening. Okay, well, I'm tired. So now I start to say, okay, from 7 p.m. we try to keep calm, and I try to. So I had to learn, but for a long time I didn't understand. Why am I so triggered? And I still don't know why. But at least I figure out that this, for some reason, triggers me and makes me frustrated and angry and easily. And okay, I have to somehow find a way to remove it. Or if I see them jumping and being excited, and I love seeing them, I either join in singing and yelling, so I don't hear them. I yell as well. So you join in the fun in a different way.
Mm.
And I think same happens with feedback.
Uh-huh.
Because when I started dancing, sorry to keep on saying when I did, but it was a different world. I had my teacher the entire day when I entered Kiev Ballet Company, from 9 a.m. in the morning till sometimes 9 p.m. in the evening. She would see me in all my rehearsals. So at some point she would say, Alina, I think it's enough, you know? Or she would say, now you need to do this again. She could judge. When you enter a company, that's not the case. So when I entered the Royal Ballet afterwards, I would say have snowflakes in the morning, into another symphonic variations, or into another ballet. And in each of them, I had a different teacher. So you would have 5:30 p.m., someone sees you for the first time that day,
Mm-hmm.
and they expect of you 100%. And that's not possible. No matter how much you love what you do, no matter how strong you are, that's not possible. And that was my first year with the company.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself having to prove myself and wanting to do the best I can and push sometimes beyond what I should have.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was desire to impress and show that I am a good employee, a good student, and I had it. But that is only because I knew I had it.
Because you'd also done many roles in
leading roles beforehand.
in
Yes.
Kiev.
So I knew this is not hard for me to do. So I should really do it better than I just did. So why can I do better? Let me do it again.
Yeah.
But the point is, we never did learn rest, recovery, nutrition.
In school.
No.
Yeah.
In Kiev, no. And even in a company, first few years, we're talking now,
Yeah.
what is it?
2001 you were
Yeah.
promoted.
Yeah, so we're talking, I joined the company in 99.
Yeah.
So we're talking quite a few years back.
Mm.
When now it's a lot more information in sports training, nutrition, mindset, recovery. It's so much that came our way from different sports, from football, and if you research, you can find yourself a lot more information about it.
So being curious is even more important now because all that information's at your fingertips almost. For students.
It is. The challenge now is which one is the right one.
Yes. Yeah, which one to
Because
listen
now
to.
you just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
And this is why I'll give you another very silly example that I came to at some point. I said, okay, I'll find the best strength training for jumps. And for like 3 weeks, I studied and I go, what am I doing? I should have just picked 3 different ones for a week, and I would figure out which one was better. So sometimes just do things gives us more experience and more personalized choice that the body says, actually, this works for me and this doesn't. Then finding the best one, the right one, the most amazing one. And with time, what you find, you connect to some people that are experts in that. So then you always have them to refer to. I always have, let's say, Patrick Rump, who I did strength training with. And if I ever need something, I always go back to him. And I say, listen, I need help with this. And he's there for me always. So I think by trying different things, you build a network of,
Yes.
of things that people that support you, a physio that is the right physio for you, strength training, same with nutrition or a way of eating that helps you to get the best. Because I tell you what's interesting. So we live in a world where people are curious about new star, new talent, new thing, but how much do they last? Let's look at how many, even in singing, how many have the voice of the year and so many. Sorry, I don't follow anymore. Strictly, but where do they? Sorry, I don't follow TV anymore. But where do they disappear? You hear of them 1 year and then they're gone. It seems in our world today it's not so hard to make to become a star.
Yes.
So the challenge is, how do you stay there? How do you maintain that? Because once you've reached your top, what does it take to grow? You can't do the same things and expect to grow. You have to find new things in order to grow. And it seems, why is that hard? Is because, and I like this 3 millimeter idea is, let's say in my trajectory, I just change a little bit my recovery post-performance workout or nutrition, and that changes just that much. And you go, that's not much, that's just a little bit. But then long term, that takes you in a different direction. And that adds up to my tree. I love my tree. Because then I go, nutrition, okay, nutrition, I can go even bigger because I change this one thing or this one supplement. Then training, if I just add this kind of training, then my tree, instead of being like this, it just grows.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that all comes from being curious. Because
And not settling.
if you settle, you die. You're gone. You're gone because you stop growing and you stop feeling passionate about what you do because it becomes kind of stale. Oh, I did this. And you know what? Of course, I did it better when I was 20 because, well, I was stronger or I don't know, or maybe not. But now I have these things to bring and it's just too hard or it's just too this. And you talk yourself out of it. And the circle goes downwards. But if you find the right thing that inspire you, this is why I go back again, get to know yourself. Anyone out there listening, get to know what moves your needle. Because when the spiral goes down, listen, when the spiral goes down, no matter what you tell me, you can come and meet me and say, Alina, I've seen you dance when you were, and I loved it, and it was this, and it was that, but my spiral goes down. You're not going to hook me out of there until I hook myself up. Until I change that circle going upwards. No one would save us. Because the self-doubt, it's still there. And no one sees it.
Yeah.
And no one can say, I see you really down. No, you rarely see people when they go down, when they're depressed, when they're sad, because the facade shows something else. But we know it's not. And that for me was a clear example when there was one step I wanted to nail in a performance and I kept not making it happen.
Which step?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
And I would work on it for all my colleagues would know. And I would work for it like again and again and again and again. And I was a run of rehearsals where I would do it without a question 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row, and nail it. And my teacher, so excited, said, I can't wait to see you do that step today because I know I can do it. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm not so sure. Do you think I did it?
I think you did.
No.
Oh, the doubt.
No.
Did you have doubt?
But I knew I was not going to make it because in that moment I said, I can't wait to see you do it.
So that
I had the doubt.
Yeah.
And no, and until I had my own doubt and I said, I'm going to nail this step today, I didn't nail it. And guess what happened? And this is bizarre in our minds. I nailed it. And I went into the wings and my entire company were like, yes, you finally nailed it. And guess what I said? Yeah, I have to do it tomorrow again.
Yeah.
Even in that moment, I wasn't able to celebrate and tell my body, yes,
Or
that's
trust you
trust.
could do it
I
again.
know I can do it and we can do it again. How amazing it is. Finally, we got here. And guess what happened the next day? I didn't make it.
Yeah.
Is that simple?
Yeah.
So actually, no matter, and this is why I'm much more focusing on the on not
The mind.
the mind,
Yeah.
and how powerful it is. Because when we dance, the self doubt, it takes. So let's say it takes so little. I doubt. The body goes, "What do I do?" And then there isn't time to react. To say, actually, I know you can do it. Let's just make it happen.
Mm.
There isn't time in the moment. So if the doubt comes in the moment, it's confusion in the body.
Yeah.
And that is also when I start adopting other things like celebrate, because yes, I did it. That's exactly what I want you to do, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow.
Mm.
And the I call it the programming, but the body gets the information. Oh, that's the right thing to do. Great, let's do it again. But if I constantly go, I don't know if I can do it, and the body goes like, what the hell does she want to do? She tries to do. I think we do what she wants, but she's not happy with it. I'm confused.
Yeah.
And then I don't give the right information. I don't say, and you'll see now, if I do something, you're going to see me like, yes, because I want to encourage every cell in my body to say, that's exactly what we want to do. Thank you. Let's
Yeah.
do it again.
And give it that dopamine.
Yes.
You know.
Because we put so much focus on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
We put so much focus, that didn't work. And the body gets this rush of energy and goes, oh, okay, gosh, this is familiar, so let's go there again.
Yeah.
And it keeps on wanting to go there because it's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And we do not give new information to say, I want to get out of that, because that's actually not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
It is familiar to feel like that, but that's not what I want. And we keep on going there. And it's like, it's when the programming messes up our dancing. We are designed as people to see the negative. And that is because that's ancestors. We had to look, see what's bad, see what's concerning, see what's worrying. So then we protect ourselves 10 times. And that's, again, scientifically proven. 10 times we're more prone to see negative
Mm-hmm.
than the positive, even though they are available in equal matters.
Mm-hmm.
We see equally, there are equally good things and there are equally bad things.
Mm-hmm.
But because we see the negative as a protective thing, is we focus on it. And in our profession, we're so much focused on, I want to improve this.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to improve this, I see what's wrong.
Yeah. And you need to say it's not good enough, or
Exactly. But if I say it's not good enough, I don't encourage myself
no,
to make
exactly.
it better.
Yeah.
But if I change the wording and say, how can I make this better?
Mm-hmm.
Then my mind goes, well, actually, if you try this and try that, or if my teacher says something that I say that could be, I go, oh yeah, because I tell my mind, for me, it's important to make this better.
Mm.
I don't tell myself it's not good enough. Because again, by saying not good enough, I put
Yeah.
a stop.
Yeah.
There is no way for growth if I use those words, because my body is, well, I did everything I could. It's not good enough. It's an end. But if I say, how can I make this better?
Mm-hmm.
How can I improve this? Then the body goes, oh, let me find out. The brain and the mind has now a goal, a programming, a task.
Mm.
And our brains are very good at task findings. And if we give the wrong task and say, why can I not do this? Like, I mean, come on, everybody does it. Why can I not do it? The mind is going to say, well, because you're either too strong or you're too weak or too tall or too short. And you can't do it. And then you go, okay, I can't do it. Or you can say, how can I make this happen? All I changed, and it's amazing, if you just say these words out loud, your body feels better, because it feels like it has a task, it has a purpose, it has a journey. And it might be as small as, how can I make this step better? And I think in a company, if you feel you don't have that feedback that you want from please just ask these questions.
Mm.
Okay, how can I grow today? Just wake up, be in your train, be in your bike, be walking, be wherever you walk to your company. Just, how can I make today a very productive day?
Mm.
And you say, actually, I need to focus on this. I have this ballet coming up. And then you'll see how your whole day has a purpose. Instead of going, oh, I'm going to do class today. Yeah, and I have that rehearsal after that. And then this. Yeah, it's a long day today. That will not going to feel as exciting as if you have given yourself a purpose. And then every feedback you go, every feedback we get, it's filtered by my purpose. It will pick up on the things that help me achieve my goal. And I find that really, really fascinating because it really, really works. If I just get carried through the day in a way, I get carried through the day. But if I give myself a purpose before the day starts, I catch myself having choices. I catch myself saying, I usually do this, but you know what? Like for me, I'm trying to stop having coffee. And I catch myself by habit going towards a place where I usually get my coffee. And now I say, I'm not going to cross the street. And when I get somewhere, I want something warm, I'll have a mint tea or a hot chocolate. It's a start.
Yeah.
And I find that if I don't tell myself that, I end up seeing myself in a coffee place, about to get it. And I see, oh, that's a long queue. I still have a chance to leave.
Yeah.
And the choice is either stay, but if I've given myself in the morning, for me, this is really important. I walk out of the coffee place.
Yeah.
Or I stay in a queue and I say, hot chocolate, please. and it helps with willpower. And it helps with those changes that have become a habit that no longer serve me. That I no longer this habit. I no longer need to be in a studio and look at my phone while I stretch.
Yeah.
If I put my phone down and I stretch and I give my body and I push down and I stretch and I just prepare for class in the way that I do and I focus on the body, I'm much more productive. I do way quicker. My warm-ups. So why I go back, to this negative thing 10 times more is we have to purposely look at the good things. So when we do a performance and we get our negative feedback in whichever way is delivered, I start with, gosh, that show, this really worked and this really worked and I was so happy with this. Amazing. Now tell me what I can do better. Now I'm ready to take something to the next step because I've acknowledged the things that I was happy with, that I felt have improved, that I was happy how they happen in a show. So with going back again a little bit to that one teacher, you have one goal, one direction, with one teacher. But when you have different ballets, someone will say, your knees will not stretch, and someone will say, gosh, your line is beautiful, and someone will gonna say, that didn't go so well, and your colleague will say, well done today, and someone will gonna be on Instagram saying, no, I don't think she's too good, and someone is gonna go like, oh my God. I mean, they're not even all saying I'm bad, or they're not even saying, how do you navigate?
Yeah.
And I think again and again, get to know yourself. Get to know your weaknesses and your strengths. So when someone gives you feedback,
Yeah.
I can be curious. Because for me, what's really important is, and I did this exercise a few years back, and it was because I did a performance and I felt really good. And someone said, yeah, it was a good show. And I said, a good show that doesn't do for me anymore. And I said, tell me what was not good. I'm curious. And but at that time I was like, well, I don't understand. I felt I did a good show and they felt it was not good. And then the other day was a vice versa. Well, I felt I did a really good show, a not very good show, but they felt it was a great show. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. So obviously how we feel back on stage and how it comes across is not always reading in the same way. So I went, how can I then judge what is a good show and what is a bad show? So I wrote down what's important for me in a show, and to inspire people, to move people, to surprise my colleagues, to surprise myself, to bring something new. And what was then amazing is, so when And then I started looking back after I made this list, and I realized the show that I felt was a bad show, and and my teacher thought was a good show. I'll give you the clearest words. My teacher came and said, Alina, you moved me today. And that's my top priority. So it's a success. I was upset because I messed up one step in 3-hour ballet. And my teacher thought that she thought, well, I moved her. This was Corsair. And I go, how can I move you? There is no story to it. Well, there is story to it, and I love to make stories out of it. But if I managed to move my teacher with a ballet that she had seen every single performance with all my colleagues, she just knows the ballet, and I managed to bring something to it that she felt moved and touched by. I was like, wow, that's huge achievement. That should be on top of my list. And I left home feeling disappointed. But now I know it's important for me.
Yeah.
So suddenly when I get feedback and someone says, oh, she didn't do that step or technically was not so good, I know. I'll be the first to know whether my technique in that show was good or bad. But if then they add, but somehow I still liked it.
Yeah.
I go, oh, I achieved my goal. And those technical work, I'll go in the studio and fix it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That I know what I can achieve. And I already know my level of technique to say, yeah, that could have been better technically. But if they still go home and saying technique was weak, but I liked it. That's my huge achievement. Because that's been my goal and that's been what I focused on. So I've achieved in my purpose with my performance.
Yeah.
And the other and then it works the other way. But why this is fun? It's fun because then I go, okay, today, if that's my purpose, let me find how can I do this. And it's fascinating because one day I really wanted to nail that step. And my whole purpose in the whole performance, 3 hours, was to nail that step. And I nail it and I'm excited. And afterwards, if I say, how was the show? It's like, I don't know, but I nailed that step. So it was amazing. And so I say, what is she on? But for me, it's a huge achievement. That was my goal and I achieved it. So then when someone says something else, I say, you know what? You can come to watch next show for me. I achieved what I wanted to do. And then I'm in charge. And then whatever feedback I get, it's molded towards my goal. So when someone comes and say, somehow I didn't connect with you today on a show. Instead of me going, being hurt by it, I say, well, but for me that's important. And I go, hey, tell me why. Tell me more. I'm curious because that's what I'm focusing on the most. And if you tell me I didn't succeed, it's important for me to know how I can improve. So then instead of seeing it as a negative feedback, I see it as a place to improve. And then what's amazing is these people who most of them think critics or the colleagues and they know something, they would always tell exactly why they think it wasn't good. And I'll give you a simple example because I asked this person, say, listen, you didn't like my show. Can you tell me what exactly? And this person said, it seemed you were off the music. And I was like, I go back into the show and it's like, I felt so good emotionally that actually I was a bit behind to deliver this climax of the movement with the high note of the orchestra. I was behind. But emotionally, I felt so strong that I was sure the audience would feel it. So actually, somehow if I don't deliver the powerful emotion I'm going through at the right time with the music, it loses its impact. So I might as well make sure the next time I either plan it earlier, or if I feel I'm behind, I should push myself to reach it. And it will be more powerful than me only me feeling it. So then I was very much aware that there were key moments that no matter how I felt, the delivery of the story, of the emotion, of the movement has to land with the note in the orchestra, with the climax in the orchestra. Otherwise, no matter how powerful I feel it and it feels amazing, it does not come across. So it's like, that was a huge lesson because I often allow myself some people say good or bad. I often allow myself to carry the emotion in a natural development. But if it's not, and less good lesson for me by being curious, and instead of me saying, "Well, I feel great," they don't know, or maybe they diminish their opinion because I felt great, and I did feel great. Allowing that curiosity to ask the question and be how do you say, not seeing it as a judgmental, not seeing as someone wanting to say something bad, but being someone who said an opinion, be curious about the opinion without the hurt or insecurity, then I learn from it.
So it seems like not allowing perfection and wanting to be perfect over a performance, having that hold over you, and just accepting that this is a continual learning experience and a continual
The student that
process.
entered Kiev Ballet School at 9 years old is still sitting here today. The moment, and there was another interesting, the moment someone says, "Oh, you're amazing. Oh, you've made it." I say, "I've made it where? Where am I meant to make it?" I've made it nowhere. It's a journey. Everything in what I do in my work, it's a journey. If I think I've made it, I'll take my shoes off and hang them. The moment I think those words, I've made it, it means, it doesn't mean I've made it to be named as something at 12, or it means I've made it to the end of my dancing days.
Right, because you've stopped
To me-
growing.
To me, exactly.
Yeah.
To me, it means I don't want to focus on growing in this art form anymore. I want to focus on doing this.
Yeah.
So this is, I've made it, shoes are off. And being amazing, well, I might have developed something in this role that brings something exciting. That's wonderful. But I haven't found everything in this role yet. But that's where I am today in this role. And that's as far as I've learned in this role. I'm excited to do again next time because I'm sure I'll find new things. So again, what that brings me to is, what do you think people think the definition of success is in our career?
You asking me?
Yes.
I think people, and I understand from your point of view, one never stops growing. But when you look at principal dancers, it's people define success as you've done all the roles, you're a principal dancer, and you're a world star. And because actually sitting with you today, I had a student. She's in her 20s, so she's still dancing, but she's very eager to learn all the time. And she was wondering how one keeps inspired when you've done all these roles. Let's say, by definition, you're at the top. How do you keep developing? How do you keep growing, keep inspired when you've done, say, Giselle, hundreds of
question.
times?
I'm going to answer to that. But let me finish what I think its definition of
Okay.
success. Because I think definition of success is when you enter a studio and you're 43 and you still love doing what you do and you're still curious and passionate.
Yeah.
I think this is definition of success. Or you enter anything you do when you're still have done it so much and you can still enter your environment of work, be painting, drawing, musical, anything you do, editing, anything you do, you can still enter that environment, be passionate about what you do, find like you are still learning from what you do,
Yeah.
be curious to learn more about what you do, and feeling a sense of fulfillment. I think that's definition of success.
Yeah,
It's not the
I
name,
agree.
the title, the company you're in, but when you find yourself in an environment where you're still learning and you're still growing, that gives you the love, the drive to do and keep on doing it.
I think those are the dancers, when I'm watching, like yourself, who I respect the most, because there are many who, you see the ones who have stopped trying to grow, and then you see the ones who just keep getting better
finding things
Yeah,
develop.
and it's amazing. It's very inspiring. So in terms of growing,
Yes. For me, it was a wonderful experience with Sorella Englund, who was who is a teacher in Denmark, and she was invited by Johan Kober to do La Sylphide at the Royal Opera House, and she worked with us. And I remember doing solo, and she was asking me, how's your forest today? And I was wondering what forest does she mean? I don't have nothing to do with forest. And she's like, well, yourself, how's your forest today? And I was like, oh, this is fun. Let me think about it. And she's like, well, is there a river? Is there or is just mountains, or is it? And I was like, and I would just close my eyes and try to imagine the forest I was dancing in, and the self I wanted to be in that forest. And I realized my studio transformed. My studio around me became my forest. And that was powerful. That was very powerful, because the next day I came in and I was thinking, gosh, how should I make my forest?
yeah,
And I thought, I can make my forest today a bit more wintry,
yeah,
a bit of snow on it. Or the next day I came and I was like, today my forest is so warm. And so my dancing changed. Because from being cold, then I would dance in one way, and then from being hot, I would just have a slower way of movement and a calm and more grounded. And then I just my whole life changed, because everything became, I could paint everything around me that I would dance in, the environment. I could paint my rehearsal to be sparkling or not, and this from a fairy tale became into Sylphide, who's also more human, but she's still a fairy. And then this became into Swan Lake, and this became into Marguerite Normand, and this became into, in every role I did, I suddenly realized that I can influence how I dance by using storytelling. And I tell you one of my favorite stories, which is Giselle. And the story does not start when the doors open, because we open the door, we look around, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, ta-dam, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then I see that. I see someone jumping on 1 and 3 and 4 going around, and then they say a mime. Now imagine this. Imagine you have Giselle inside the house, washing the dishes, cleaning the house, and there's a knock on the door, and she thinks, oh, it must be Hilarion again with flowers. And then she opens the door thinking, Hilarion, are you here? And then she runs around looking for Hilarion. He's not here. How would she feel when she does those steps? She'd have, and then she'd go and she bumps into him, and she turns around, it's not Hilarion, it's Albrecht, and he's here. And she turns around because she didn't expect it.
yeah,
It's a beautiful story, no?
Yeah.
It makes sense. Now imagine Giselle sitting down on a chair with her best dress that is cleaned and prepared, and the hair is done. The other day she met Albrecht in the forest. He was kind of strange. He ran away fast, but he said he'll visit me today, and I'm waiting for him to come. And should I maybe go outside now? I'll sit down. He said he'll knock on the door, so I'm waiting for the knock. Oh gosh, I don't even know what to say. And then there is a knock on the door, and you open the door, and could this be he? He said he'll come up around in the morning. It is morning, and you walk around side. Is this him? Is this him? And then it is him.
yeah,
How would you do the step with this story in mind? In a completely different way. Now imagine another situation where they've met 5, 6 times, and they've kissed already, and she wonder whether he'll gonna kiss her again. And
Yeah.
we can relate in everyday life with this situation. And then she knows it. Now she's ready, and then she's almost ready to open, and she's about to open. There is the knock. Should she open and see him? No, she can't see him yet. She's not ready to see him yet, because today something special will happen, and she feels it. So she waits for the knock, and then she opens, and he plays that game again. I know he's hiding, and I know he's hiding, so I'm just gonna pretend I don't know he's hiding, but I know he's him. I recognize that kiss. And then when I see him and he takes my hand, and And he holds that. Oh gosh, I wish you'd never let go of that hand. I wish you're gonna hold that hand, but I can't give in so soon. I mean, and I swear he swears, and he'll marry me, and it has a completely different depth.
So you're
No.
constantly changing the story.
Yes, none of them are wrong or right.
No.
They all make sense.
Yeah.
But what that gives us, it allows me to use how I feel. It allows me to use how I feel to be honest. I have on my list to be honest in my performance. I don't try to pretend happy and young when I'm actually, you know what, I'm not feeling young today.
Yeah.
And I'll use that heaviness in my body to bring a different aspect to it. And why I think this is important is because I can use this tool to inspire and motivate myself to go on stage or in a studio in those days when I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
When I feel today is a big push to do this again after I have done it so many times. But if I know I can discover something new and I help myself to get there, then I succeed. And this was a huge help for me. I'll give you another example, if I may.
Of course.
And that was with Swan Lake, which is a ballet I still used to find the hardest. And this was with Swan Lake. I was feeding all night. And
Oh, wow.
I was so tired and
I bet.
exhausted. It was a matinee, so I didn't have a chance even to kind of recover. And I remember doing my makeup and thinking, how am I gonna get through this ballet today?
Yeah.
And I seriously started looking in the mirror and thinking, gosh, it could be like 100-year-old Odette. And I saw this image of me walking on a stick, thinking, Maestro Gavin, who is wonderful actor with the NBC, wait for me, I'll get to center to do a jump. And they're like, okay, we can start now. And I imagine kind of making a comedy out of it. And I go, hang on. She could be 100 years old. And she could have had many men that she told the story and they just run away.
Yeah.
She told the story, you can save me if you just truly honestly love me, and we can save all this one and everybody, and Rothbar will die and the evil will die and we can be happy ever after. And they would just say, she's mad. Or they could have said, oh my God, this is too hard. Or they could just try it, but last minute give up. She must have fallen in love so many times.
Yeah.
That she gave up hope. I thought, that's kind of how I feel right now. In my body. I was like, oh, this would be interesting. How can I use this? But it's true, I don't have to be light on my legs. I don't have to be a flying swan. I can be a swan that's worn out by life experience. And I can relate to that feeling in my heaviness and lack of sleep. And I could use that. I could really use this, even lack of breath, because I think my biggest challenge was like, I can barely breathe.
Yeah.
And I need lots of breath to get through this ballet. How can I? And I was like, I can take my time in my breathing. I can use this slow breathing because it is slow actually. It is slow. I don't have to be this light swan. I can use this. And I was like, this is fascinating. And I had the most amazing show because when my prince was saying, gosh, what's his name? Also Albert.
Your
prince's name.
Yes. Oh, Siegfried.
Siegfried.
Yeah.
When Siegfried comes and said, I'm not gonna kill your sons, and I say thank you, but I don't say thank you with oh, you're kind, you could be a potential. I say, oh, thank you, I'm so happy they're safe, and I'm worried about them. I'm not worried to impress him.
Yeah.
So it changes completely how I say thank you, Your Royal Highness, because he's also a king. I just say thank you, young man.
Yeah.
Thank you, young man. So I say it as so my words are different. I don't say, oh, thank you, Your Highness, you're the kind of handsome prince or handsome man. I go, thank you, young man, you're such a child, but I appreciate your help.
Yeah.
So then when he comes back, I go like, oh, what does he want now? Like, why is he here? I wish he wouldn't bother me.
Mm.
And he comes, actually, I kind of like you. I was like, again, you're such a... So when I dance everything, I'm very protective because I don't trust he has the power and strength to save the curse. And I don't want it anymore. I don't think it's for me anymore. So suddenly when he does the whole parade and he's attentive and he's kind and he's saying kind words, I keep on saying, yes, young man. Okay, young man. You just don't know, young man. You know, this is not the life. I don't believe this is possible anymore.
So you have this constant...
And I don't give in.
Yeah.
What do you think that does? It makes him go more. Hang on. I mean, by now, usually I give in halfway through the parade in Act 2. By that point, I usually let myself feel the embrace and feel the hope and have the change in my, this is for me, this can happen. There's a hope. So then I usually do the solo quite hopeful, seeing a hopeful future. So it becomes not just steps, but a hope for a happy ending. But in this case, I don't give in until the last bit of the bourrée when we go away, just before we do the last bit of the adage. But by then, even my colleagues that are watching, like, what is she doing? Because it created such tension and unexpected. Even Maestro Gavin said, even an orchestra playing is like, we didn't know what you're gonna do. I didn't change any steps, but I had the resistance and I had a wall that I didn't used to have. And I got so excited because I could see him just trying harder. But I swear, you have to believe me. And I kept saying, I wish I could. And I honestly, and that's the beautiful part is having this thought. I didn't plan what I'm gonna do. I didn't plan how I'm gonna do it. I just followed a natural way of my story. I wish it would be true. And I truly, truly hope that the wall has been built so deep. I don't have any more hope. And I'm sure anyone at this age, anyone past 40, let's say anyone past even 35, it depends how your life is, would have experienced this in life. So suddenly me going there, it wasn't something new. It was just, oh, I found a part of myself that built a wall at some time to protect me from something. And I recognize the feeling. I don't try to pretend anything. I just go, gosh, yes. Oh, I know how to do this. I've done it at some point. Let me use it. This is what I was trying to tell you by going inwards.
Yeah.
It's much more unique. It's much more honest. It gives us power and fuel much longer. It's limitless. It's endless. It's like a river. So once we tap into that way of inspiring ourselves, that is not relying on feedback, is not relying on my colleagues, but it only relies on myself. I can place myself in any situations, and then I can recognize that I'm the one with the power to get myself out of this. This doesn't mean to say, oh, I feel sad and angry, I have to take myself out of it. What this means is I feel like so sad and like shit today, and I'm just gonna sit here and feel sad for myself for a little while because I feel like this. I acknowledge I feel angry and frustrated, and this is wrong and unfair, and I'm just gonna say all these things just because I have the right to say it. But I'm not gonna stay there. I'll allow myself to feel these feelings because I cannot deny that I'm angry. I cannot deny that I'm frustrated. I cannot deny that they were me, or I don't even care who's right or wrong. I feel angry and I want to feel like this, and I feel it was wrong, and I'm gonna just feel all this inside me. But I choose to stay here just for like, okay, I give you half an hour, or I give you even a day if that needs it. I used to be there for weeks after a bad show. And that week I was a nightmare to everyone around me.
Yeah.
because I didn't know how to get out of it.
Mm.
But now I know. Now I know. Okay, listen, I feel like that, but now, okay, get over it. I mean, listen, everyone who watched that show forgot about it.
Yeah.
By the evening, they even forgot about it. By the next day, they forgot about it. Why should I feel like this? But I also now know why was the bad show, why was a good show, why I feel like this. Well, I feel like this because someone said something, and I was like, okay, do I agree with it? If I agree with it, then it takes a little longer to get out of it. And I can, okay, yes, you messed up here. How can you fix this next time? What you should be aware not to make this mistake. And once I start transforming it again into a lesson with curious questions, I can get out of it, because at the end of the day, no one remembers but me. So if I manage to transfer this experience into a good lesson, then it's a good lesson. But if I choose to stay and feel sorry for myself for too long, I reinforce my nervous system into a pattern that
Yeah.
I don't want to. And I start recognizing it, and I say, okay, I feel this way. If I deny feeling this way, I only
Push it further
push it
down.
further, and
Yeah.
eventually it'll come out at the wrong time, but if I just say, listen, I really want to feel like this right now, and I'm gonna do it, and if I want to have the hot chocolate with the coffee, I'll just gonna get it and do it, like do it properly, proper celebrate the healing, the all these emotions, and then get myself out of it, because I know how to get myself out of it now.
So you let yourself now feel what you're feeling, your emotions, what you're feeling, rather than suppressing them. I was going to ask you, what would you say is different from, let's say, the very first time you did Giselle and your approach at that moment in time? Because now, hearing you speak, you are so self-aware. You're very aware of your emotions and who you are.
I am, but I think what's wonderful is I let go.
Yeah.
I think when you do the homework, you do the preparation, but if you manage to go on stage and let yourself be directed by the environment, and by that I mean I might have an idea of how I feel today, but if I'm open, one of my colleagues might just do something that is a different timing, and that might spark something new. So really open yourself to listening to your colleagues, listening to the music. Oh, it's faster than usual, but this adds something else to my dancing and to my story. I'll take it. That does two things. One, can mess up the technical part. Because if you rehearse in a certain speed, rehearse with a certain preparation, and suddenly you have a different dynamic in approaching a step, it might not happen as good as you wished, or as good as you usually do, or you might come out of it without the balance. But if you are in the moment, you can use it to continue the story and continue to bring something new to it. So then it can become the same step with a different dynamic. And I have two stories. Remind me, one is about the ending, and the other one is about what was it? Yes, I'll say the other one. Remind me about the ending. Why is this beautiful? And I learned that from acting, actually. It was in a famous actor giving advice to young students, and he said I had to enter for my play, and there was a chair in front of the door, so I didn't enter. And my director said, why not coming in? And I was like, well, there's a chair there. And he said, well, if it's a comedy, use the challenge. If it's a comedy, fall over. If it's a drama, pick it up and smash it.
Yeah.
I think that's something we have to, that's something I start using. If I was falling out of it, I would use it. If it was dramatic and I was sick, I would use that to add to that part of my character. If it was a comedy, I would smile and make it joke. And why that's interesting, working with John Neumeier for me was amazing, because he has so much story in it. His Juliet is actually a very naive and very clumsy girl. So he actually has her run in and fall down. So then after that, if I ever did not make a step in a way, I would use that to build the character. So then
Yes.
when she meets Romeo, she becomes very coordinated, very in love, very full and wholeness as a woman, and falling in love as a young girl, falling in love. So then I could physically as well as emotionally use the step in the story to nuance, to make nuances within my role.
Mm.
And I think this is by being in the moment and being in tune with your emotions and in tune with your technique. This is how you can make a ballet that you've seen so many times, make people say, oh, I feel like I watched it for the first time. And I had John said those words to me.
Mm.
And I was like, he created this ballet.
Yeah.
For me, that's huge.
Yeah.
For me, this is like, I can stop dancing now.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because when you really, and that can only happen not by going on stage, this is what I'm gonna do.
Mm.
And that's what you do, and that's what we see, and that was a beautiful performance. I was even moved or not moved, goodbye. But when you just immerse yourself fully and not be afraid to make mistakes, because you know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say the other part I wanted to say is about the ending. And this is challenging when you work on a ballet or with a choreographer or with a teacher that requires you to do it as planned. I was doing Swan Lake, and I was having so much force at the end of the solo, and I turned, and I couldn't stop, so I turned around and I finished in fifth,
Yeah.
holding to the other side. And I was like, wow, this could have gone so bad. And then people went crazy because actually the ending was sharp, which I was taught a lot in Kiev in my training. Конец делу венец. The end is what makes it count. It was such a drilled in that no matter what you do, if you mess up the end, it doesn't count like a strong solo.
Yeah.
So somehow, I guess some things do stay in my mind is I have to finish strong, and I finished strong. And I remember then my director at the time coming and said, well, we're thinking changing the ending. And at that time, it devastated me because I was actually really proud to have managed to not give away that I was out of control.
Yeah.
And managed to finish strong. I didn't go on stage with the intention of changing. But what was challenging at that time is I didn't have the knowledge of self-knowledge. It did somehow put me down. And later on, I realized actually that was a huge achievement.
Yeah.
That I managed to control something to make it not look like something wrong. And then when I found myself in an environment working with people, many other different choreographers that allowed that space, I feel at my best because I was discovering. I wasn't just aiming for one thing. I was aiming for whatever can be created in the moment. And I found myself loving working with choreographers, especially John, because within mistakes, within that freedom, you can either find mistakes and you put them aside, or you can find things that are great and you keep them. I don't feel we can find great things by keeping ourselves in a frame, in a box. Then you can only discover what's within that box. And that takes courage because that means it's not going to always be great.
Yeah.
But now let's look, come on, of all the art, or all amazing athletes who have basketball players, anyone. We only see the great part. But how many times did they fail to achieve greatness? And how many people had to, at some point, retrain? And I think this is why it's also so important to be curious, because I came to a point in my career where I was like, I don't seem to get any further. And in order to do that, I had to just erase everything I thought I was doing right and start again. It was a forced, in my case, it was a surgery, it was an unfortunate, but I had to retrain myself, and I had to go, oh, and then you manage and you find new things and you find new strength. But I had to have the courage. And then again, after after the birth of my second girl, I found myself in the same position. I had to retrain myself in order to come out of this, and it wasn't easy. And interestingly enough, she's 4-year-old now, and I only now I feel I find the way out of this retraining. And for a while, I couldn't see a way out, and I knew there was a way out, but I had to go with faith, and I tried so many different things to get the body working, and I couldn't. I was performing, but I was performing not to the level I wanted to. I was performing with injury because I couldn't figure out how to get over this injury that I was struggling with.
Yeah.
The body was new after two babies. The body was like, okay, who are you?
Yeah.
Can I still do this? And this question really raised so many times, and I had to go not by my feeling, but I had to go really deep down, and I knew there's a way. Don't ask me why. I just knew there's a way. And I wouldn't give up. And people say, why are you doing this? And I said, I feel I have to try. If it's the right thing, I found the right thing. If not, I'll take it off the box that I've tried.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, from that try, I still kept one to exercise that I still do today because I feel they helped. But then I found that one thing that helped me and got me on the right track. And then I was like, great, I have this figured out. This is what I should do for the rest of my life. And 2 years later, I go like, that's not the final puzzle. I was like, damn it. Oh, can I still do this? I mean, really seriously. And then I go, wait. There was something back then that happened that was helping, but maybe that can help me now. Now, maybe my puzzle for that experience, it wasn't used then. I can use it now. So again, by being open, by being curious, and by being, what is it I can do? And then I go, okay, yes, if I just shift these puzzles around, this will work. And now that's actually when I'm at the phase I'm at, that I'm putting that puzzle into my training, and I go, yes, that's exactly what I needed. Where, looking back, I could have easily just stopped.
Yeah.
In the last few years, I could have easily just stopped. And then I look at some videos from shows, and I go, I remember how I felt, and I go, oh, it's still there, and the passion is still there. I just have to take care of the body. And I think this one advice I'll give anyone is, if you truly love this art form, truly, you'll love it even more later.
Yes.
If you truly have this seed of discovering, of bringing your unique self to it in a brave, courageous way, just because you have a calling, not because someone tells you, just because the calling is there, you will find a way that makes you, as an artist, interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of the body, it will not come with you.
What are some of your non-negotiables in terms of looking after your body now? That you have to do all the time to look after yourself?
Well, I have my routine of exercises that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I start a lot more using meditation.
Oh, yes.
A lot more. And I start to, I have a thing, because you see, I always tend to do more than I should instead of less than I should. I realize that's always been my weakness. So I write things down. So if it comes the day where I go, oh gosh, I should really work, I look at my notebook and I say, I did enough, I should rest today. But before I do that, now I know, if I question, I say, oh, should I work today? I already know I shouldn't.
I think that's a problem a lot of dancers have. I actually get that question a lot. People ask me, how do I know that I'm doing enough?
So what I experienced is, when we're weak and we push, we hit a heaviness. We hit this kind of, okay, I have to push myself to get stronger. And it's like lifting weights, no? If you lift weights the same, you have to add extra to make you feel the work. And I found myself, when I'm overtired, I feel the same.
Yeah.
So I go, okay, so we have more work, we have more. Am I too weak or am I too tired? And that for me started very early on, actually working the Royal Ballet when I was about 18, 19, when I would do so many things. And I couldn't figure out, am I too weak at this role?
Yeah.
Or am I too tired from all the work?
Yeah.
So I start writing down.
Mm.
I start writing down how much I work, how many exercises, how many Pilates classes, how many pre-core, whatever I was doing at that time. I would write them down, and then I would Sundays when I usually worked.
Yeah.
I Saturdays at the end of the day, I just didn't want to go home. I would stay in the studio and try work on that solo or whatever I felt I needed to. I just would look in my calendar and I say, no, I shouldn't work today. I should just stretch. Or sometimes even not stretching for me was worse.
Yeah.
If I'll take a whole Sunday off and I'll go Monday to work, I felt, okay, I needed to rest. I realized for me that's worse. I would do an hour and a half stretching,
Yeah.
and then Monday I would feel great.
Mm-hmm.
Some people didn't need that. So I think the biggest question is, what does your body not need?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with ice baths or ice buckets. I would know that if I do it after the show, the next day I will feel better.
Mm-hmm.
If I'll do it the next day, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So then I have my choice. I have a show, and I go, I so don't want to go into that ice bath.
Yeah.
Just because I know the pain and I still haven't got used to it, but I know that my legs are going to feel so much better tomorrow. It's only 10 minutes, or depends how much you do. And if I force myself to do it, then I know the results. But sometimes I say, I know I have to rehearse tomorrow. I just don't want to make myself do it. And then the next day I pay the consequences.
Yeah.
So in the rehearsal I say, I'm sorry, I have to take it easy today because I know I didn't do this. And I know I feel the heaviness in my legs. And that's my choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I know. So the next day I'm not going to push myself, because I know if I push myself on tired legs, I'm not going to get great results. I'm going to have to recover much harder. So I'm going to say, okay, today I'm taking it easy. I don't run this. I'll just do this, or let's do the adagio, or let's just do this. So I can still feel that progress, but I'm not going to push beyond what I feel my body is ready. For some people is nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
You eat the right thing straight after the show. Or for some people is sleep.
Yeah.
For example, for me, sleeping is much more important than food somehow. So if I have a lunchtime, I would choose to nap for 20 minutes and have a light snack instead of a big snack. And so everybody is different.
Yeah.
Find out what works for you.
Mm.
And all those things, finding by being curious about actually trying it. I cannot tell you do this or do that, this look great, because it's not. That's what I found worked for me.
Yeah.
And now this is the key. It worked for me at that time.
Yeah.
And this worked for me at that time. And I could just say, well, this is what works. I'll do this now. But I acknowledge that that's not the key, the point. What works for me now is different.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have to start again the process. How do I recover now? And the other interesting thing, I mean, there are so many, really many points, because I can talk on forever, because I've been very passionate about this. As you can see,
Of course.
that moves the needle. How can I be in charge of my progress? I realized that for me, day 4, and that was after an injury, when I would work day 1, day 2, day 3. When I came to day 4, I remember very clearly in my recovering process, I entered the studio, I said hello, and I said, let's go for a coffee, let's go for a tea, because I knew physically I couldn't push, I couldn't work. My body just said, today I need to recover.
Yeah.
So then I learned that for me, day 4, it's always a weekday. So for me, it's not 5 days or 6 days or 7 days. For me, it's 4 days. So then some days during the week, it was midweek, and I go, ooh, I feel tired today. I'll look back and I say, oh, today is day 4. And by that, I don't mean now I don't work on day 4. I just mean I just don't push.
Yeah.
I just take it easy. I make half day. I pace it, exactly.
I actually, when you say things change, it always makes me think about my point shoes, actually.
Yes.
Because similarly, they changed so much from when I was young, and they were like extremely hard to almost hold me up, to when I also got so into my training, because I had a couple of very bad injuries myself. And so you take your conditioning so much more seriously when that's happening. And then my point shoes changed. Like, I noticed my shoes became softer because I could hold myself up more from the body, you know, so much lighter. What would you say in terms of your conditioning is one of the key areas that you really focus on in keeping very strong for yourself?
Uh, well, I was focusing a lot, for example, because I truly believe turnout. It's a key factor in our if the turnout if alignment.
Mm.
Alignment. I was focusing on alignment, hip, knee, and I did that for that was what the second phase I was talking about earlier, because it was the knee that I was struggling with, and I start focusing on the alignment very much, turn out in a hip to see the alignment with the leg, to have the balance right and left. My challenge came from working on a ballet that was amazing ballet created by John Neumeier, which is the Glass Menagerie, in which I was having one high heel and one flat shoe.
Oh, wow.
And I was like this for 5 months.
Yeah.
And after that, we did the show, and I came back to do Corsair. So day one rehearsal, I start jumping and fouettes and thing, and something just went. And I've never unbalanced the body, and from being like this for so long. So then I to go short in my challenging, I start focusing very much on alignment, low back and alignment of
Yeah.
my hips. And I got that one figured out, like I was saying earlier. So fine, I was very excited. Great, this is it. But then I start having other challenges, and I go, what is this? Core. I think it's the combination that one should really focus on is ab core and alignment.
Yeah.
Hip, low back, hip, legs. Because the upper body, yes, and I had that can happen. But I think the base that we have, the strength in our feet, when things are aligned, and when I managed to get at alignment, I was like, it's so easy to dance.
Yeah.
But if the alignment is wrong, it becomes a muscle work. It becomes compensation. And there's one strong advice I really have is we focus on strength, but the alignment, I think, is far more important. And most of the time, what we don't realize is after we have an injury, no matter how small or big, our bodies are so, can I use strong words?
Yes.
They're so bloody intelligent.
Yeah.
Then they find a way to compensate, to avoid the pain.
Yeah. Which then puts you
And
out of
we're off
alignment. Yeah.
And we're not aware of it. And we come back from it. And what happens in dance is we have a little bit of pain, but we don't necessarily know how strong it is, or it's a real injury. So we dance a little bit thinking, oh, the pain will gonna go away. And sometimes the pain goes a little bit away, but that is the body going away from the pain. And we dance until the pain, oh, actually, there is something serious. And by then, we slightly shift the way we work. The body says, I don't want to feel this pain. I'm going to use the body in this way. And it starts building a neural path and a muscular strength.
Yeah.
In a different way. Then we fix the problem, we stop, we don't stop, the pain goes away, we come back dancing. But that path is already there.
Yeah.
And unless we purposely start changing the neurological and we force the body, actually, wait, that's not aligned correctly. Let me realign you. The pain is not there anymore. And sometimes we might still feel pain because the body knows the pain is there. But it's like, oh, wait, actually, there's no pain. And we have to retrain, remind the body, the pain is gone. It's healed.
Yeah.
You can use the whole body fully, and then you go, actually, yes, that takes time. And we never pay attention to that. So what that does, it slowly has an adjust way of dancing that is not aligned. And that leads to another injury, and leads to another injury, and leads to another injury. And then retraining ourselves away from all these paths and misalignments could be not necessary. But I think at this point is necessary for a lot of the people that are not aware of it, a lot of the dancers that are not aware of it.
Yes.
But maybe there are some dancers that don't have that many injuries, that have a easier coordination in the bodies, and that's wonderful. But once someone has the smallest of injuries, I highly recommend when you come back, realign your body, realign your hip, knees, ankles, lower back, actually everything. Just really have someone looking at you. ask one of your coaches, listen, I need half an hour. I do a bar, just look at me, one-on-one, in my whatever leotard, see my bones on top of each other, because I want this body to last me a long time.
Mm. Along with the core, I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying, was for me one of the biggest breakthroughs was understanding that spiral
Yes.
movement, because I think so often when you said an exercise tendu, people think it's just out and in, rather than that sense of around to go out and around to come in. That for me, because even when teachers would say, "Oh, turn out," you just kind of you don't really know what that means. Like, what does that actually? What's the intention behind the turnout? So you end up just kind of shoving when you don't really understand. So would you agree that that kind of spiral sensation is also just for the turnout, like really, really important?
It's for everything, really, I think.
Well, yes, yeah, it
It
happens. Yeah,
happens everywhere. It happens in and then it's, you don't just dance
no,
in one dimension, then it becomes
yeah, and then
a
it
beautiful
becomes
dance.
easier
Yes,
actually because you
yes.
feel every movement.
I remember once I was doing a dance, I think was, I don't remember, sorry, and I had to do a pas de bourrée the wrong way. And I was like, but I'm stuck. How I can get out of this, because everything was moving in this way. And someone said, oh, just use your spiral to create the opposition. And I was like, what language is that?
Yeah,
At that time, was that English? Because I didn't understand. Of course, it was English. And then I understood it. Actually, I can create the spiral, because the spiral is there forever, no? So I can just tap into it and use it. And I said, oh gosh, where else can I use this spiral? And then that kind of how I came across discovering. Some Pilates teachers use a lot in training um, the idea of the spiral. And but I think actually um, training does change once you have a child. Training does change once you have an injury, and if the injury reoccur, that means it's so easy to say, gosh, I can never fix this. But again, change the words and say, what have I missed last time? What have I missed in my training that led me to have this injury again? What alignment, what strength, what chain of connection? Because I think once you learn about the spiral, you realize that the problem is not strength. It's a connection in a chain.
yes,
But is that because something is too strong or something is too weak? Often it's a combination of both. But which one is it? Because we don't. The sad part about our bodies is, as intelligent as it is, wherever you feel pain is not always the cause, as you know. It's not always
right.
the problem. It's like, okay, I have this, like for example, for me, it was in the beginning stress fractures in my feet,
Yeah.
and like many of them, and that led to people saying, you must have weak feet. And I was like, weak feet. Okay, so I did so many exercises to get them strong. But until someone said, well, what do you do to release the tension? I was like, no, you don't understand. They're weak. And I was like, I need to build strength. And it's like, yes, but how do you release? It's like, no, I need the, and they had to actually completely brainwash my and teach me how things work. And I realized I never released these muscles around the shin. I never released the muscles underneath the feet. I never released the muscles the back of the calf or even the calf, because I wanted it to be strong. So guess what happens if this is tight and you go on point? It pulls on every tiny little bone, and of course eventually that creates stress fractures. And I was like, wow. So I think, and I was quite late in my career when I realized that the releasing of the tension equally builds strength and creates the right movement. And weakness is not necessarily.
Yeah,
I don't have
agreed.
weak bones. I just have
No.
the wrong tension in that I had to figure out how. And then I was so if I ever had any issues, I had to really go inwards and say, okay, is this pulling here, or is this too weak here, or where is it coming from? And I seriously searched so much if I have an injury, not only in my field in ballet, but in other kind of sports. So when I had my neck injury,
Yeah.
I was doing training like boxers
Yeah.
or Formula One, because when they go, they have such an impact on the neck. And I was trying, what exercises do they do?
Yeah.
What exercises do boxers do? Because they have to have such strong protective
Yeah.
muscles from all. So I was training with weights on my neck to
Wow.
protect.
Yeah.
And that means going all the way to figure out how to help yourself if you truly believe you can make it
Yeah.
or you want to.
Yeah.
So it is, I think, like everything else, is as much as you're willing to put into,
Mm-hmm.
it will pay back
Yes.
in your training, in your nutrition, in anything in life.
Yeah. Agreed. Alina, tell me what you're doing now. What are you up to now? Because you've been thinking, I've been reading you're trying to do more for the freelance dancers, and
Yes.
you recently done a work, La Strada,
Yes.
in Italy.
We actually premiered it at the Stardust as well. So
Oh, amazing. Yes. And you commissioned this and also performed.
Yes.
Yes. So tell me, what are your, in terms of your continuous curiosity, what are your ambitions and what are you continuing to work on?
Well, luckily we have we have a tour now with La Strada. I'm gonna be in Parma in Italy for the first time, bringing La Strada, which I'm really excited about, and also in Bonn Festival,
Mm-hmm.
both in February. What was interesting about this experience was again the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what was amazing is the learnings that I've had allowed me not to put the pressure to have something that everyone would like, but really enjoy every day. Every day working with the dancers, costume people, music. It was so much to take in, hiring the theater, ticket sales, promotion. I mean, I was like, okay, but I did it with curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I did it with loyalty. So I think once I had the team on board, I realized that my responsibility is to help everyone grow on their journey working with us and have a good experience working with us. So that means we had a teacher, Stefan Dahl,
Yes.
teaching us. First day we did the class, but the movement, especially for some of the dancers, is more contemporary. And when we start, even me, when we start after class doing, I was like, it feels a bit unnatural. So then we say, okay, what about floor? So we did floor bar instead, and then everyone said, yeah, that's the thing for us. And then some dancers will warm up in their own ways, which they did, and some of us did floor bar, and then I think what was interesting is having that curiosity and openness to adapt as we go along.
Yeah.
No, say actually, no, this is my company, this is what I do. We do class, everybody has to be in class because that's what we need. No, it's like, okay, how can I do a most productive rehearsals? How can you do a most productive performance? What do we need? I would try to ask the dancers, how early, how late is this working? Which actually it's exhausting because it's not just. And then at some point, I had to make the decision myself,
Yeah.
and say, actually, we're doing this. You're welcome to join. I didn't or you're welcome to do your own thing. But I feel this would be the right thing at this time. It's good for me too. And in learning that side of managing things, I found it very rewarding because now we're doing it again, and everyone was willing and happy to join us again. So that is always for me a sign that of a small success in a way, because I think this is one of the hardest thing when you work with artists on all fields, not just dancing, to create an environment where people feel appreciated, where their knowledge and expertise is welcomed, and it creates a collaboration. And I think in big companies that's a little bit more challenging to achieve because there are so many parts within a big institution, and I think in a way for me this was just really a wonderful lesson and an exploration in a way to say. Some people ask me, do I see myself as a director of a company? And the answer is, because of this reason, it's no really. Maybe, but I think it's a lot easier to make an impact on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And it's not because, and I feel bigger institutions have a way of running that if you want to change something, you might not be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I'm willing to compromise, because for me, somehow dancers have a priority.
Yeah.
And I think in a bigger institution, there are many other aspects that has to be taken into account almost above
Mm-hmm.
the dancer's need,
Yeah.
that I personally am not willing to. I'll struggle to compromise.
Yeah.
Being a dancer, so when you go ahead with programs, with our plannings, I always say, for me, this is a must. This is a non-compromise. I mean, this doesn't go below this for the dancers. Let's say that's it. And if we have anything else, we bring a master. If this class, so for me, it's always been how to create an environment as where dancers feels respected, appreciated, and listened to and supported.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, hearing what you're saying, that's every dancer's dream environment that we kind of hope for when we're working in the companies. But as you say,
Gosh, listen, sorry. Let's not put the power in the hands of the people in front of the studio. Because let's say there is director there, and I'd like to give this example again. The Me Too, when I have to go back to this example, when this young dancer had a health procedure, and the dancer, I don't say he or she, the dancer came back into the studio, and it was beginning of the season. The doctor said you shouldn't work to the point of sweating, and it happened to be auditions. The dancer mentioned to the director that or everything that the doctor said. And when her turn came, so everybody did the solo once, and I'll say her turn came because somehow comes easier, sorry. And her turn comes and she does the solo once, and then the director say again. And then she does it again, and the director says again. And then the dancer does it again, and it becomes a tension in the building, in the studio. Everybody knows the situation, and the director says again. And she does it again. And the next day, the same situation. And the dancer speaks how the teachers, the choreographers, the coaches, no one, or even the director, no one stood up to stop the situation. And she felt she had to do it. Now I'm asking you, where was the seed of doubt?
well, within the dancer. Yeah.
Because speaking of situation like this later does not change anything. Why? Because the doubt was, and as this dancer was talking beforehand said, and she was saying, like she felt responsible, that she needed to do what is required. This performance was not until months later. As you know, the auditions often happen way earlier than the performance itself. My opinion of this is this: if we want to change things that we feel are wrongly done within a studio, it's up to us.
Yeah.
Not to speak or complain, but through actions. And I feel this was a very good opportunity for this particular dancer to say, because everybody saw, everybody knew the situation. Whatever she would have said, or it would have been with respect, and say, actually, I have done it many times. I feel if I do it again, I can't do it any better than the last 4 times. Do you have any feedback for me? I can then work on it and think about it. And tomorrow I can improve.
Yeah.
This would come from someone with self-knowledge, self-respect, self-appreciation, and knowledge of the situation. Then you're not going to let someone else push you beyond your boundaries, because you know your boundaries. You know, actually, honestly, if I'll do it one more time, I'm not going to show you any better. And then if the director says, do it again, you know 2 things. 1, this is not the place for you. You're trying to prove yourself in the wrong environment.
Yeah.
And 2, because if you are in the right place, the person who's in front of you should know whether you can do that solo or not. Not push you to do it so many times.
Yeah.
And by saying, actually, listen, I'm very good at preparing at home, which I personally am. So this is why that's what I would. Please tell me how I can improve, and I can do it for you tomorrow. I'm afraid I'm in a situation when the doctor really restricted me. I have no doubt I can do it by 2 months' time. But right now, I want to improve. And I tell you why this is important. We have to understand that the director is employed by the institution. The dancer is employed by the institution, chosen maybe by the director or not. Sometimes the director enters you in the company. So if we put the power of my career in the hand of the person in front, I have to actually know, do they appreciate me or not?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, I'm not going to push myself beyond, I'll find the right place.
Yeah.
But if it's yes, the interesting part is in this situation is, yes, the director has many responsibilities to artistically, performance-wise, scheduling. But when a director is in a company, what job do you think the director has? If he's in a studio, my job as a director is to make you grow.
Right. Yes. And nurture your dancers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a studio and I do something that is the opposite, I'm doing my job wrong.
Yes. And you're just putting your dancers down, making them
And if we know
afraid of you,
that the
possibly.
person in front of his job is to make me do better,
Yeah.
I can actually, give hints of how they can help me get better. And I can honestly say that I can only run it 4 times.
Yeah.
That's my limit. If you want to help me, next step, please tell me corrections.
I mean, that situation sounded more like a power move, like what the director was trying to prove or say something through
Yes, but
his
then
his
it's our
actions.
power
Yeah.
to stop, because what that does will give the other dancers around food for thought.
Yes. Yeah.
And they can say, actually, you know what? Yeah, maybe I should do things. The person say, actually, yes, I liked feedback too. I didn't get any feedback. I should go and ask for feedback because I want to do better tomorrow. I didn't get any feedback. It's a true point.
Yeah.
Why do I do it so many times and I don't get any feedback?
Yeah.
I don't know if I got the role or not, but it's true. I can improve. And if that's my director, his opinion matter. His or her opinion matter. Be curious. And you go, gosh, I can learn from that. Or you can go ask your teacher, let's not just run it. Did you had any corrections? Any thoughts on what I can improve? Because then you also get to know if your director or coach says, yes, this can be better or this can be better, you can go, okay, so for them, that side is important. It's more technical side. Or they say, oh, for them, or my weakness is this, or my strength is this. Any question asked in the right way can only lead to self-knowledge, development. You can either learn about the teachers or you can learn about yourself, but it can always be a learning.
Yeah.
So
I think it's nice the way you're speaking in terms of that perspective of you're keeping between the people in front of you and you. It's like this open communication and conversation and continuous,
I think
dynamic and process rather than one person's opinion. Yeah.
The interesting part is, in some situations, gosh, really seriously, we could talk about this
all day. I know,
because I've realized I've been so passionate about what I wanted to achieve that I found different systems of how to make it work, and that only came from, for me, storytelling helps.
Yeah.
So I remember another clear example of a wonderful artist who came to teach. She was not in this case a teacher, but she's done the role, created the role, and was invited as a guest. And we were working, and I loved dearly, and I admire her, and she would just show me what to do, and I would do it. And you say, no, 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 and she would show me again, play the music, and I would do it, and you say, no, 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 no. And it's been like this for about 15 minutes now, and the whole company is sitting down expecting me to just explode as I would sometime have done in that time. But I loved this dancer so much, and I was like, okay. So I was like, what would you like me to do? And she would run to do it again. And I said, no, 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 with words. Please tell me, what do you want me to do? Exactly. And she's like, I want you to do like this. And I was like, and she's like, I want you to run like you're so late. It's your wedding day. You're late and you don't want to miss the moment. I just want you to just run on stage. Because until then was about 5, 6, and then arm. And I would copy what she did and nothing. I couldn't do anything right. And I just run out of ideas. I even thought I was copying her to the smallest
Yeah.
of details just to move on with the experience. And she said that. And I was like, I know how to do that. I went back, the music started, I ran on. I don't know what arms I had. Of course, it was within the, but I don't remember what count I went on. I just ran on and she said, yes. And then the whole rehearsal from there changed because every time she had a feedback, she would get up to show, she would sit down and say, so now I would like you to, and you could see her trying hard to find a way to help me in a way that would help me. And this is so wonderful because when you get to know what helps you really and truly, it can transform an experience that could have turned out like such a negative experience into something wonderful. Of course, that takes 2 ways. Of course, that takes the people. But you can learn to ask questions in a way that makes someone else also grow. Say, listen, I really tried to do this and it doesn't work. You still give me the same correction. I think I'm doing the correction because I think about it every day. That's my nature. I can show you, I even write it down. Let's find another way because I don't, I said it will kill me to get the same corrections tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's analyze this because I honestly am thinking about it. That's not being disrespectful. That's just being honest. Or we can say, yeah, I got that correction again, but I cannot do anymore. What can I do? They have an image I can achieve. I cannot achieve this. I don't know. I've tried so much. That can also happen. And you'd be right to think that. I give you another example, if I may.
Yeah.
Ashton, or no, actually in this case wasn't Ashton. In this case was a contemporary piece. And the choreographer would tell me, I really want you to go really down, really low. A big, beautiful curve at the bottom of the movement. And I would go down. I want you to go even more, even lower. And I would go even lower. And then he's saying, something is missing. Can you try even lower? It was very, I love working with that choreographer. So, and then actually it was Kim Brunstrom. And you're going to say even lower. And I was like, last time I did it, I touched the floor. I can't go any lower. What is he after?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's film it.
Yeah.
And when we film it, I could see I was so focusing on a down that I was completely missing the up. I completely missed so the movement was very small.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was just down, down and lower and lower. But where I started the movement, it never got high enough. So I looked at the video and I was like, I know how to fix this. So I do it, I go all the way up, I go all the way down. It's like, yes. All I did was I could have said, Kim, I am touching the floor. I cannot go any lower. I'm almost touching with my elbow and arm. I cannot go any lower. That was with my shoulder and my head. So then the only thing I did was being curious about what is it he's after. There's a movement that he's after that I truly believe I can deliver.
Yeah.
I just haven't figured out how. Or I could have just said, Kim, let's move on. I can't do this. Or I could have easily said, I cannot go any lower. There's the floor down there. And instead I said, okay, let's film it and see it. And the moment I saw it, I knew straight away because I know how he works. I knew what he was after. And I said, I know how to fix it. And I think this is what I mean about that collaboration and communication. And if you get to know yourself, when you work with a choreographer, you learn how to be a part of the process in bringing yourself to the work, not just doing what you're told.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, choreographers also love to work with that because it might not be what they expected.
Yeah.
It might inspire them in a certain way because there's something honest about it. Or they can say, actually, I see it, no, but I go in another direction. And then you go, okay, so if this is not the right feeling, let me see how I can find another feeling. And it always comes from in.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful. I think, because then when you watch something, you say, oh, wow, something moved me. I don't know what, but something I could connect with that.
Alina, you've been so generous with your time.
My pleasure.
What would be one final question for you?
Yes.
What would be your biggest advice for a young dancer looking to become professional, become a mature dancer, and let's say continue that curiosity throughout their career? And to quote unquote make it, but yes, become the professional they seek out to become.
Be curious, really, and get work on yourself, not on your job.
Mm-hmm.
By that I mean keep growing.
Yeah.
And no matter what environment you're in, this is in your power.
Mm.
What feedback you get, what opinion people have of you, you have no power over that. You have no power over having your audience like you. You have no power over your director like you. You have no power over choreographer. You have no power over anything except yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know your thoughts. Get to know what thoughts you can bring within yourself to empower you to follow on your dream. Get to know the thoughts and the programming you have that stops you from growing on your dream and eliminate them. Then get another course of self-development, how to eliminate those thoughts. That would be another talk we could have.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you are the only person that can either help you succeed or not. We have the power. And I think my biggest goal and my biggest dream is to try to encourage the dancers to realize that we have the power. If I'm in an institution, I could use that theater to learn. I can use, maybe the class teacher is not to my liking, but the Pilates instruction is amazing. Go do 3 of those. Use the opportunity. If you figure out that helps you, do it 10 times a day. No, sorry. No, don't do it. But do it 3 times a week, 4 times a week. If that is what helps you, if you have an amazing guest teacher within your company, say, listen, what are you doing for lunch? I have this soul I need to work on. I connected with you. You teach me so much. Could you please run them? I guarantee there is no guest teacher in the world that if you ask them in your lunch break to work with you, they'll say no. I guarantee they're not going to say yes, but pay me that much. I guarantee they'll say, oh yes, I'll be happy to. I guarantee. Or even if they ask for a fee, give it, because next teacher that might come within that company might not be that teacher. Do not miss opportunities. If you feel something helps you, go for it. If you have a period in your season that you're not so busy, but they have a course on marketing, go do it. It's for free. You can only learn. Never stop educating yourself on anything, because you never know when your career might end. Or you never know when within your career you might decide to take on a project, when that marketing course just comes in handy. If something comes in and it looks like an opportunity, take it. Don't say, oh, I'll do it another. Don't. That's wasting time. That's it. Okay, be curious, because that might come in your life for a reason. Trust life. Trust life and trust things that comes your way, because there is a bigger picture that we don't know about. Be curious to take that step. You might, I have to be a principal dancer, or I have to focus on the things that comes. I don't have time for this. When you actually do, be aware not to talk yourself out of things. When actually, be honest. Actually, I could do this. That's one of the things I'm guilty of. I say, I don't really have time. Actually, I could, but it's not. And then when I do it, and I honestly did make myself do some courses and some things that later on when I go, that thing, oh my God, that's exactly what I need right now. And sometimes, and I speak from experience, some of those things came in life savings, like overcoming huge trauma or loss, or it just took me out of a deep hole. And And at that time, it felt like nothing. It was just an information of how to help myself in some ways. But a couple of years later, that just popped into my head, and I was like, I got this. Don't underestimate the power, and there's a big plan out there for everyone. And that's another thing I say. If I write a book, one of my colleagues said you should write, this should be the title. I truly believe there is a place for everyone in this art form. Which that leads me to be kind. Which that leads me to the person next to you might suffer the same or more, might have challenges, you might not be kind. Which that leads me to, when someone is crying, put your shoulder forward, because another day you might need a shoulder. It might not come from the same person, but someone saw you do it to someone else and they go, I think she needs a bit of a hug today, or he needs a bit, well, I don't know, but I speak now from personal experience, girl, I think she needs a hug, or I think he needs a talk, or just someone to hold their hands. And I did that out of love and understanding what this art form is. When you see someone down, you know that you don't have to know what is it. You don't have to know. You just have to be there and just be with them. They might either open up or not. And I think that comes again in life. You never know how important that one step of kindness would mean to someone. But you will know when your turn comes, because your turn will come. In this, I think in anything in life, really, not just dance, that support is always needed at some point. And when it comes from a stranger or a friend, or it will come around. Give kindness and kindness will come around. Don't let the competition part make you feel like it's a competition, because we're all in the same boat. But if I can help someone get better, that's their place. My place is here.
Yeah.
I can only get myself forward, but I can help also them get there. I can share my experience with them to move forward, and I can share my experience with this colleague. I can share my experience with you if that helps in any way someone get themselves forward. Find a way that they haven't thought of how to see this to move forward.
Alina, thank you so much. You've been amazing, and I know this is going to inspire many, many people. Thank you.
Pleasure.